Hi everyone! In this video I want to talk about planning a small wedding. I planned a small wedding for myself in July for 25 guests, and I identified some tips that I prefer you to know before you actually plan your small intimate wedding. So in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about the wedding I organized for myself and also sharing some tips around planning a small wedding. So we decided that we want to go for a small wedding for 25 guests, mainly because I wanted to make an outdoor ceremony that would feel really cozy, and for me personally this connects actually to the amount of people watching. So we invited only very close family members as well as best friends. Initially we wanted to make a wedding in the castle, but this didn't work out, so we rented some space in the park, and at the same place we organized like a small apéro, live music and the ceremony itself. After the ceremony we also made a small buffet so that we could celebrate all together a little bit outside, at the same time making some memorable pictures for the years ahead. And initially I thought it's gonna be easy, because just small wedding, 25 people invited, not big deal to organize. But actually you should think about it in the way that you have to do all the same steps as you would do for a big wedding. You still need to find the venue, send invitations, find photographer, videographer, order catering, buy dress, suit, etc. So in reality it is not easy. And this is the first tip or the first statement I want to say, that you really understand that. If you think organizing a small wedding is easier, in reality it is not, because you have to go through all the same steps basically as for the big wedding. Second point regarding the budget and the price you have to pay for the wedding. Yes, for the small wedding the budget is lower, that's true, but you also have to understand it is lower mainly because of the catering. Because all other vendors would charge you basically the same amount. You still need decorations, you still need your photographer, videographer, dresses, makeup artist, etc. So the first main point where you can really save and lower your budget is of course the catering. But since it adds up normally quite some reasonable amount of money to the total cost of your wedding, then in the end, yes indeed, you are gonna decrease the budget of your wedding if you are inviting less guests. Another point to consider is the venue itself. Many venues are not really interested if you organize something just for 25 people, unless they specialize on particular small celebrations. So this is also important thing to keep in mind. If you have a particular venue in mind where you would like to celebrate, then there might be restrictions on the minimum amount of guests that could occupy this place. Also be prepared, if you're organizing a small wedding, you might be asked to pay additional fee just for renting out the space, since you're not going to make a huge order for your catering, so some kind of compensate and increase a bit the total cost. The venue might charge also additional fee just for the place itself. Another thing I learned during my small wedding, that you actually still need a moderator or coordinator at least at the wedding day. Because, for example, I didn't think that we would need some kind of a moderator, because it was half-day event just with a outdoor ceremony among only our closest family members and friends. And somehow I communicated to my mother, for example, what is the schedule, what they're supposed to do, so we prepared some kind of entertainment for them while waiting for us. They could sign the bottle and also leave some messages for us in the guest books, etc. But somehow you should remember that it's a very special day, not only for you as a couple, but also for your guests. so they all kind of nervous and tend to forget things, and they don't really know what to do, like are they allowed to eat now or can they already take the seats. So I was very lucky that I had a wedding coordinator for that day, so she took the role also a bit of moderator and reminding the people what they're supposed to do now, what are the next steps, etc. And that was really, really helpful for everyone. So think about some kind of wedding moderator or at least coordinator for the wedding day, even if it's a small wedding. What definitely is an advantage of a small wedding is that you could introduce the following theme, and that's what we did as well. We asked our videographer to capture best wishes for us, in a small interview from our guests. Of course, if you have like 100 people, it's so difficult to ask everyone to participate, but if it's just 25 people, everyone could say something for you, and then the videographer could include it in your final wedding film. And yes, paper notes are nice, and it's also such a unique memory to have, but if you can actually see a person talking, like in any moment of your life later on, this is kind of a special touch between you and your guests. So I highly recommend doing it, especially if you have a small wedding. It's really easy to include in your wedding program. Also, continue talking about videographer, and also the same is true for photographer if it's a small wedding, and most likely, or at least in our case it was just like 6 hours event, then you should think about if photographer and videographer would accept this offer, especially if it's a high season, if it's a weekend, then of course it's not financially interesting for videographer or photographer to work just 6 hours if they could get an offer for the full day coverage. This is the first point to consider. Second point, with regard to the same topic, you should think about the material you can provide then for your video film, because many videographers, if they just work for 6 hours, they might think it's not enough to make a nice clip out of it, even 1 minute clip. So, okay, 1 minute probably would be enough, but like 3 minutes, because one of the videographer, when I was looking for a vendor, said that 4 hours, like no way I can make a 3 minutes video out of 4 minutes. I mean, of course he could, but it would be too boring, because you need to include something in your video clip. Of course, if you want it to be professionally done, dynamic, not boring, then you should think about the material, really, what your videographer would capture during your wedding day. Yeah, so that the video clip, comes juicy. Another tip and benefit of small wedding, since there are not that many people, it's actually much more easy, as I said in the beginning, to create this cozy atmosphere. Also, it is much easier to get people involved, like your guests, involved in the wedding itself, in the celebration, so that everyone feels like more comfortable, more cherished, and I think for everyone it's gonna be a very, very unique experience. It's also easy to incorporate personal touches if you have a small wedding ceremony. For example, as I talked already in one of my previous videos, I DIY'd some things, not because I wanted to save money mainly, but because I wanted to add this personal touch. And that's particularly true for this small wedding celebration, because if we talk, for example, about invitations, it's much easier to DIY 10 paper invites rather than 50. So think about it and keep in mind that if you want your wedding to be more personalized, then small wedding would definitely contribute to it. So these were my tips about planning a small wedding. In case you have any questions, particular questions about how I organized my small wedding, just leave please a comment below the video. I would be very happy to help, and we see each other in the new videos very soon. Bye bye!